ourselves centered and focused. You could have your eyes closed or open if you want. I prefer them closed. Ready. Them.
Take your ka and your jaw and spin them forward in perfect harmony together. Ka jaw. Backwards. Horizontal clockwise. Counterclockwise. Vertical clockwise. Counterclockwise. Ka jaw in perfect sync and harmony. Add the Z, ka jaw, spin them forward, blurs of sparkling light. Backwards, horizontal clockwise, counterclockwise, vertical clockwise, and counterclockwise. Zika Ja in perfect sync, in perfect harmony together.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Brother Reggie. Thank you, Sister Skye. So before we do our prayer, let's all open up to Vivus chapter 25 and actually look at what Yeshua had to say about prayer. So starting at verse 18, this was from the sermon at Scythopolis. Verse 18, when you then pray, this is Yeshua speaking, speak not to the ethers, nor to a rock, or to the wall in your home, but to the spirit of your heavenly parents which dwells within you, which you are one with in your heart. In humility, bow your head, then raise it up with closed eyes to the sun in your prayers. For all light comes from God. That's a key little saying there. For all light comes from God. Not just the sun, the light bulb in your house, all light comes from God. Both the spiritual and the physical. And when your eyes are upon the light, it is easier to feel the spirit of Elohim moving in your heart and hear the voice of Elohim speaking in your thoughts. Be a thankful son or daughter of God, for you have been given a life on a most blessed world, where food grows of its own accord, and beauty and life abounds and surrounds you wherever you look. When you're in the sacred place of prayer in your heart, ask of Elohim any selfless and worthy desire beyond that which you can do for yourself, another key verse, beyond what you can do for yourself, and the means for it to come to pass shall be given to you. But ask not for worldly things, save it be with selflessness, only for help with your simple needs and for the good of others and the glory of God. Elohim is not like a distant rich relative to be called upon to grant your temporal wishes, but a true parent who teaches you good principles that you may prosper on your own, both spiritually and temporally. Verily, your heavenly parents greatly desire your continual well-being and spiritual fulfillment upon the earth and your eternal happiness and progression in heaven. So some really key verses in there. So the one that I want to really talk about is the light, that it's both a spiritual light and a physical light. And so we all have a tendency, of course, to bow our heads when we say a prayer, and that's fine. But if you really want to be able to make that connection, having your eyes closed, but be focusing on a light source, all light, both physical and spiritual, comes from Elohim. So it's a way to have a greater connection. So you might give that a try in your home and outside, is when you give prayers, when you're saying your prayers, to look at a light. You can have your eyes closed, whether it's the sun or whether it's a light in your house, a ceiling light, a floor lamp, a desk lamp, and see what difference you feel saying a prayer where your eyes are focusing on a light, even with your eyelids closed. It's really amazing the difference that can make. So that's one thing I wanted to point out on the prayer. And then we also are going to, where were we looking for the chapter 13 of Vivas?
Chapter 25.
I'm in chapter 25.
Yeah, verse 13.
Okay.
It starts actually with 13.
Okay, so going up to verse 13, so still talking about prayers. When you pray to them, do not just let words flow out of your mouth, nor repeat each day the same thing you said the previous day. Speak your prayers aloud when you're in a private place, but only in your thoughts when you're in public, unless you've been called upon to stand and pray as a representative for your brothers and sisters of spirit for something which you all desire. And then here, verse 15 is a really key verse. In all prayers, before you say a word, take a deep breath and slowly let it out. And then another, and another, until you are in a quiet place of peace in your heart. Then let your spirit expand beyond your body until you feel one with the grass and the waters and the birds and all life around you. So it's kind of like the contemplative movements at this point, where we're expanding our spirit out and feeling these things. Then expand into the sun and the stars and feel the spirit of Elohim moving in your heart, and feel oneness with God and all that you are. So even when we give a group prayer, like right now, where we're going to do a group prayer, these points are all still very, very important. And so we don't just start right in with saying a prayer, but we take those 3 breaths. And as we take those 3 breaths, we're calming our own spirit, we're connecting to Elohim, and we're sending our aura out so that we can connect to Elohim, which is all life comes from Elohim. And so as we connect to that life, and connect to those energies, we're connecting more to our Heavenly Mother and Heavenly Father. And when we say a prayer and we're focusing on a light after we've taken these 3 breaths, made this aura connection, our eyes focus on a light, it makes a really big difference in being able to connect. And really, so often when people say prayers, and this is for all religions, they just say words. They're not making a connection. They're not having a communication with their heavenly parents. They're just saying words and
feeling it.
Yeah, they're not connecting with their aura and their heart and their mind. So as Celestines, this is a really important thing that can help you so much in your everyday life, is to be able to pray in this manner. Just go back to this chapter 25 of Vivas, and read what Yeshua said, because it's the template that Yeshua gave for all of us to be able to connect with them, our Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, and our brother Yeshua. So with that, I don't think we asked anyone to say a prayer today, did we? I'm gonna nominate you. So,
Oh.
so let's go ahead and do the 3 breaths too, as we do that. You might just lead us in the 3 breaths before we start the.
Well, I'll just explain it.
Yeah.
So what I do is I like to find a light that I can be near, inside or outside, so that I can feel that light, feel the warmth. And then I take a deep breath and I concentrate my aura as at the bottom of my breath. And then I expand my aura out once it gets to that point to cover the whole earth. I just expand out, feeling everything that's on the earth, becoming one with the earth and all energies of the earth. Then I take another breath, concentrate my aura on the bottom of my breath, and then I send it out way out into the universe to the sun and the stars and all the planets, and feel what that feels like. And then on my third breath, I send it to the Celestine realm, to the Elohim, and I am standing or kneeling before them, usually kneeling before them as I say my prayer and as I feel their love and their light.
Thank you, Sumara. So go ahead and lead us.
So, okay.
So the thing different is, let's take those 3 deep breaths first, just to calm and bring our peace into our heart and mind, and then your breaths following along.
So really, you're talking about 6 breaths.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I combine them, but for this purpose, we'll do
Yeah.
Okay. So the first 3 breaths are just to calm, and then the next 3 breaths are to send the aura out.
Right.
Okay. Lead us in the sending in part.
Okay, let's take a deep breath and let it out. Concentrating your aura, feeling that spinning within your core. Now take a quick breath and pushing our aura out, feeling all the energies of the earth and feeling the love in your heart expanding to encompass everyone and everything upon the earth. Now bring it back in, take another deep breath, and let it out. Concentrating your aura. Feel it. Now take a deep, another quick breath. And blow it or expand your aura out and take yourself out beyond the earth. Feeling everything and expanding your heart out into the universe. Feel what it feels like to feel the heat of the sun and all the energies of all the planets. And then bring it back in. Take another deep breath. And let it out. Concentrating our aura. Quick breath and send it out all the way up to the Celestine realm. With your hands together in a prayer position, standing or kneeling before our Heavenly Parents. Heavenly Father and Mother, we are so thankful for all of our many blessings to be together with our brothers and sisters around the world, to feel them, to see them, to have this technology that allows us to do this. We are so thankful for your love, your support, your guidance, the angels you send to help us. We are so thankful. Please be with us this day to enlighten our minds, to uplift our hearts, that we can be in harmony and unity. We love you and we appreciate you so much. In Yeshua's name, so be it.
So be it. Thank you, Sumara.
That's great.
So be it. Thank you very much. That was beautiful. Everything was beautiful.
So now we know a little more about prayer, and it's so helpful. Prayer is so powerful. All right, so let's go now, and we're going to have 3 talks today. Normally I don't talk today. Normally this is just for a day for Sister Dansha and Sister and Brother Reggie. You must be really embracing your feminine side today, I think.
Yes, I am. I think so.
As we all should be balanced in that energy. Okay, anyway, this is normally their day to talk, but I've had just in the last couple of weeks, 4 different members ask me specifically about faith healers that they're experiencing in their area, having in their area. Excuse me. So I wanted to talk about this because it's Sunny. Well, Sunny's mad at Sumara because while Sumara was giving her prayer explanation, Sunny crawled down on my lap and was just sitting there nice and calmly facing Sumara. But then as Sumara was explaining it with her eyes closed, not realizing Sunny was there, she was moving her hands around. She slapped Sunny in the face, so she's a little upset with her now. Okay, so anyway, faith healers. This was an important enough subject that I needed to talk about. And so I'm going to start talking about that, and I really am looking forward to people having this information. And of course, that all depends on not having Sunny run around on my desk. Okay, I'm going to go into greater detail later, but just right at the beginning, let me summarize. And I'm going to be very blunt. I'm speaking as an apostle of Elohim with the full authority of that office. So I hope I don't offend anyone with my directness. So here's a quick summary. Anyone that claims that they are raising the dead is a fraud. 100% of them. Only Yeshua can raise the dead. And that was only done in very rare instances for very specific purposes. And those purposes were far greater than simply returning that person to life. Number 2. Anyone that is using their faith as a healing source for money, their faith healing, as a healing source for money, particularly lots of money, because a lot of these faith healers are millionaires from all the donations they get. They're also a fraud. 100% of them. Not 99, 100%. Yeshua never used the power of the light to heal anyone and then ask them to pay generously for the blessing. Number 3, anyone that claims to be an instrument of God and their ministry is built around healing people every meeting, they are frauds, 100% of them. Yeshua healed from time to time, but only as a small part of his ministry. And that's the same for members of the priesthood of Celestine light. The Elohimic priesthood is given the keys of healing the sick. But that's not our ministry. That's only a small part of anyone's priesthood stewardship. Number 4, anyone that makes a public spectacle of healing someone is a fraud. 100% of them. 100%. When Yeshua healed someone, it was a sacred moment, not a religious revival carnival show. Number 5, though Yeshua did heal people in places that people had gathered to see him, most often he healed in private settings with very few witnesses other than his apostles. He didn't bring people up on stage in front of thousands and flamboyantly and dramatically slap them in the head and tell them that they were healed. And afterward, he didn't ask everyone for money. And he didn't encourage the person to proclaim to everyone that they had been healed. Now, if you go to an alternative healer, like Sister Dansha, for example, based upon the knowledge that she has gained after years of study and expense for learning about energy healing and herbal healing and mental and emotional healing, and then she helps someone to get well in the way that they need, she deserves to be paid, just like a doctor, for her expertise and knowledge that she's gained over many years. Now, if she calls upon angels and Elohim to help with their energy as part of the healing, that's just the icing on the cake of the wellness that she gives to her clients, the total wellness package from all her knowledge. But if she uses none of her years of knowledge, but she only used her priesthood authority as an apostle of Elohim and laid her hands on someone's head and solely by the power of God flowing through her as a conduit, heal that person, then she shouldn't accept a penny, or that would be a healing by Elohim, not by Dansha. So do you see the distinction here? If Sister Dansha helps someone, and I'm just using her as an example because we all know her, if Sister Dansha helps someone to heal due to her knowledge and expertise that she gained by years of study and practice, she should be paid for her service just as any doctor would be paid. But if she's only acting as a conduit for the pure healing energy of Elohim using her priesthood authority, then it would be contrary to her priesthood authority to accept payment for just doing her priesthood duty. Now, true healings of spirit and faith, I'm talking about these fake faith healers, and they're all over the place. But there are true healings of spirit and faith, but they're not the people you see up on stage doing it. Those healings can happen with anyone, Celestines, Catholics, Protestants, Muslims, Buddhists, and other religions, but they are not revival carnival spectacles. They are sacred moments that occur only with humble people of deep faith, both with the person that's being healed and the person or persons that are doing the healing. But for fake faith healers, it's all about the show and all about the money. They don't study healing for years like Sister Dansha. They say that God just touched them, called them, and now all they need to do is touch other people and they'll be healed by the power of God. It's a very alluring promise, especially to someone who's dealing with a real illness or disease, even more so with someone that's dying and desperate to be healed. Oftentimes, people go to faith healers when they either have a health condition like terminal cancer that has no medical cure, or they're too poor to afford medical treatment. They may not have insurance and be able to pay for a $10,000 operation, but they're led to believe that if they just give a $500 donation to the faith healer, that they'll be able to cure them. And the big faith healing cons use multiple tricks and deceptions to make it appear that people on stage or even out in the country where they're working are being healed. They're fake. A lot of it works on the principle that anyone in any circumstance with any disease or illness can seem to get better and even feel like they're better when they have a huge amount of positive reinforcement for a short moment of time, hours, and maybe even a few days. They have bursts of adrenaline and other hormones that override their symptoms. But it wasn't a true healing. It doesn't last because it was just a temporary reprieve. For a very short period of time, their mind overrode their body. But once they're away from the euphoric feelings orchestrated by the fake healer and supported by the enthralled audience, the disease that never actually went away comes back with full symptoms. And those symptoms are often worse than they were before because thinking that they were cured, people stopped taking their medications and doing the other things that help them. Seeing as my still got my voice, running out of voice, I'm going to turn it over to Skye. She can actually tell you a story that she's actually lived through in this case.
Right. I used to know a woman that had cancer and she wasn't willing to go to doctors, but she was trying all the different alternative things and she wasn't really getting any help. And she went to this church here in our bigger town near us that had a faith healing session going on. And she said that when she was sitting in the front row and during the healing that she had people on stage and was healing them, she said that he came over to her and he said, "You're healed." He said, "I just saw a white light shoot into your body." And he said, "You are healed." Well, when she was telling my friend and I about this, she was transformed. It was like the next day we saw her and it's like, whoa. Well, my friend was coming down with something that was rheumatica, polymyalgia. It was completely debilitating for her. She couldn't lift her arms up over her head, above her shoulders. She could hardly walk. She was almost bedridden from this. It was so bad. And so anyhow, we thought, neither one of us believed anything about anything. We didn't even believe in God at that point, hardly. So we thought, okay, let's go to this. So the woman and her family went, and we went with them, and it was a huge congregation, and they had lots of talking and exhorting before it started. And then he started calling people out of the audience that he would point at, you come up, you come up. And then when a lot of people were up there and he was healing them, and he had helpers that were healing. And then he said, and now anybody else that wants to come up. Well, my friend, I pushed my friend, I said, go up and just see what happens, you know. And so she went up there, and I noticed, I saw, and there's a lot of people, they were all being healed at the same time, people working with them. And I saw her with somebody else other than the main guy. And the next thing I saw was the main guy coming over. He was called over to her, and he was needed apparently. And the next thing I saw is he had her putting her arms up and down over her head, just totally freely, something she hadn't been able to do. And then he had her running up several steps and running down and running up and running down, something she absolutely couldn't do when she came to that place. And so it's like, whoa, you know, we were really excited. And so the next morning I called her, I said, how are you? And she said, wow. And she said, it's so wonderful. I woke up and I can move and I can get out of bed. And it was like 2 to 3 days later, and she woke up and she was exactly where she had been. She couldn't move. It took her a long time to even be able to get out of bed. And now she had an understanding like I had, that we knew that when you heal someone, you have to get to the root cause to truly heal them. Well, of course, none of that was addressed in the healing, but for a few days, she was temporarily totally healed, and it was pretty exciting. But it came back, and the lady with cancer, hers came back, and she ultimately actually chose to, she wasn't willing to go into why she had it, and she died from it. So yeah, that was a very fascinating experience.
That's basically typical. If you, and I'm going to send you some, I'm going to put some links on MeWe so you all can read a lot more in depth about these guys. And you'll find that 100% of the time, all these people that were supposedly healed, there's no empirical evidence that anyone was ever healed on any basis that continued. So they can say, oh yeah, this person was resurrected. Okay. Where does it show he was ever dead? They have a lot of different ways that they con people and that they fool people, and just the belief, I'm healed, you know, everybody's euphoric. We've got, and then your symptoms can be gone for a few days, but they come back because there was no real healing. But as a Celestine priesthood holder, you do have the power to go to those root causes. And that's important because, and let me just continue what I was going to talk about here, because before I get off on a divergent path, which I tend to do, there is actually much more to healing. And I'm telling you this as a priesthood holder, there's actually much more to healing than just one moment in time. Now, most often when Yeshua healed someone, he would tell them two things immediately afterward. He would let them know that it was their faith that had made them whole. And he would tell them to now get on with their life and sin no more. Now think about that last admonition, to sin no more. At first look, that would seem to be an impossible request. You're welcome for the healing. Now go about your life and never sin again. Obviously, that's not what Yeshua meant by those words, which no person on earth that has ever lived could fulfill other than him, to sin, never sin again. So what did he mean when he would heal someone and tell them to go forth and sin no more? What he meant is from that day forth to live as a Celestine, particularly in regards to diet. 80% of all illness comes from non-nutritious food and often harmful food and drinks that we put into our body, and the beneficial and nutrient-rich foods that we neglect to put in our body. So in the context of being told right after healing to go forth and sin no more, Yeshua was telling them from that day forth to eat to live, not live to eat, and to treat their body like a temple of God. And this is a very important template that we as Celestine Light members of the priesthood need to understand and implement whenever we use our priesthood authority to channel the healing energy of Elohim. The template is that the healing is actually the second step. The healing is the second step. Without the step that comes before, or the step that comes afterward, there can be no true lasting healing. The first step is to qualify those that seek to be healed, that they are ready to be healed. Now that's true whether the healing is coming through the conduit of the priesthood or by other alternative healing modalities, like herbal treatments, for instance, or Reiki, or any other alternative method. From my observations, when I was the scribe for the oracles, Yeshua healed not more than 10% of the people that came to him seeking to be healed. Not more than 10%. That means 90% of the people that wanted to be healed, he didn't heal. He didn't even give them the time of day. If they were not humble, repentant, and full of faith, he never laid his hands upon them. If he didn't sense that after the healing, they would live the Celestine light in their diet and their activities, he turned away from them and he ignored their pleas for help. He didn't act that way, rejecting 90% of the people seeking to be healed because he didn't love them. Like us, they were his brothers and sisters of spirit, and he loved each and every one of them very greatly. But he knew that healing a person that was not humble, that was not repentant, that was not full of faith, or that would not follow up their healing by living a healthier life, would only result in a temporary healing. Their sickness or disease would return or manifest in a new, but just as debilitating and maybe even deadlier way. If Yeshua himself were here today and he completely healed someone with terminal cancer, it might buy that person a few more years. But Yeshua's healing would not make him immune in the future to having his illness return in one form or another if he didn't follow up with living a healthier lifestyle, a Celestine lifestyle, in the days and the years that came after that healing. And if that person was not humble and repentant and full of faith to begin with, then Yeshua would know, as all Celestine Light priesthood members should know as well, in those cases, that it would not be possible to call in the great power of Elohim to heal them. Putting it bluntly, it would be a waste of time and energy. If the person desiring to be healed is not yet humble and harmonious with the light, then they're not a receptive vessel for the healing light to enter them. It cannot come into them. And if they're not willing to live a Celestine lifestyle afterward, then even if they were healed, it will not last. Illness and disease will return to them in the not too distant future in one form or another. Now, as I said, I'm going to post on MeWe some links and articles that will explain in detail how these fake healing cons work. And one of them that I'm going to post is an interview with a repentant faith healer. So this is a guy who actually did it, and now he's telling people what he and other faith healers do to pretend to heal people. And I encourage you very strongly to read these articles. You'll quickly see parallels to every supposed faith healer in any place where you live. They all use the same kind of tricks. In fact, this guy who gave this confession, he said the faith healers oftentimes get together with other faith healers and they exchange tricks. Well, this is how I get the person this is how I get people all fall over. oh yeah, I'm going to use that next time. This is what I get to do that. So those same kind of tricks are used to make those that are watching believe that people are being healed. Then those watchers who just watch, wow, that person became healed. I knew that person and they became healed. They become great advertisers to tell their friend, I saw him heal a blind man or someone with cancer or whatever. And he even brought this guy back from the dead. But it's all tricks. It's not real. It's stage magic. It's taking advantage of gullible people. Some charlatans even use techniques of mass hypnosis. Now, the interesting thing I've noticed as I looked at articles about these con men is that most often they use paying money as the criteria for being healed instead of humility and harmony with the light, which is the right way. Now, a perfect example is a guy named Todd Bentley. Now, Todd was big in the early 2000s. Then he dropped out of sight for years, but he's recently returned and he's trying to con a new generation who didn't know about him from the other times. Now, as the offering plates are passed around before the healing spectacles begin, and this is not unique to Todd, all these faith healers do it the same way. He insinuates to those in the audience that they will not be able to be healed unless they give a generous donation. Now, here's a direct quote from Todd, and again, this is just representative of all these faith healers. Here's what he said in a revival in 2008. This is a quote. People get stingy when they give, but they want a generous blessing. I'm telling you, there's something about what you reap and sow. So you think about that as I sow. You think about what God wants you to plant. I mean, donate, generate. So that's an end quote. So, I've talked a lot about the fake healers, but there are real faith healings. As I said, it doesn't even matter what religion someone is, if they meet all those criteria that are necessary for healing of humility and harmony with the light. Now, in parting, I'm going to share two stories of true healings. And one I just recently shared, so you will have heard it. If you were here in that meeting, you will have heard it already. But I'm going to share that one again, then I'm going to share one other one. So back in my early 20s, I was a missionary for another church. And I was raw at this. I was new to this church. I had recently joined the church. So I didn't know anything about how they did things in that church. But I was on a mission, and I had my companion who was a senior companion. He had been a lifetime member, knew how everything worked. And we got a call from the hospital. This is like only a week after I had been out. And we got a call from the hospital saying that the lady in the hospital had requested that the elders from our church come and give her a blessing. So that was us. And so we came, but we had a room number. We were just ready to go into her room. And the doctor came up and stopped us. And he said, I just want to give you a little warning. This elderly lady has terminal cancer. She probably has about a week left to live. She's a very nice lady. Please don't give her any false hope by what you tell her. And that's what he asked us to do. So that was very sobering to be told that before we were allowed to enter the room. We got in the room. This very sweet lady was in a hospital bed. And she told us that she wasn't a member of our church, but that she had a son who lived in England who was. And because she was dying, he told her to call the elders that they might be able to heal you, And so she did, and we were there. So my companion, because this is the first healing I'd ever seen. I knew nothing about how to do a healing or how it worked in this church. So my companion explained to the lady that we had this little bottle of oil, olive oil, and that one of us would put a drop or two of this on her head, and then the other one would lay his hands upon her head and actually give her the blessing. And then, and on my mind, I think, oh, great, that's good. I'll do the oil. He can do the blessing. I can hear how it works. But then he asked the lady, who would you like to do the oil and who would you like to do the blessing? And she says, well, I would like Elder Love to do the blessing. I said, whoa. I was like, whoa, don't ask me. I don't know how this even works. I was saying in my mind, but, I had to do it because she had asked. I couldn't tell her, well, I don't have any experience. So, but the moment that I laid my hands on her head, the moment that happened, I was filled with the spirit of Elohim so much that it completely overwhelmed me. It was actually my first experience in life at channeling, because the words that came out of my mouth were not my words. I had no thoughts. My mouth just started speaking on its own, and the words started coming out. And they told her that not to worry, just the opposite of what the doctor had told us, is not to worry. You are healed of your sickness, and you will be home soon. And when I was done, it was short, and I looked at the lady and says, that was not me speaking. And she said, I know, it was God. And I got transferred to another area a couple of days after that. But I was told by the missionaries who took my place that the lady, in fact, was healed, and they met her at her house a week later, and the doctors were all amazed. And the other story is similar to that. This was a family I knew when I was a teenager, and they were a very religious family, very humble, and the daughter-in-law of one of these, because they had adult children, and the daughter-in-law of one of their sons developed a huge cancer tumor the size of a softball that was protruding out of her body down in her abdomen. And she was scheduled to have it operated on the next day at the hospital. She was in the hospital and she was scheduled to have it operated on the next day. And the family together, the father and the mother and the children, they all went to the hospital. You get her off my desk, please. They all went to the hospital and they laid their hands upon her, and with their love and their faith and their humility, they gave her a blessing and told her that the cancer needed to be taken away. And they asked God to take the cancer away. And the next day, they came in to prep her for the operation, and they noticed that that big protrusion wasn't there anymore. And they took her in for an X-ray, and it was completely gone. That quickly, it was all gone, and it never came back, because it was a true healing of faith and humility and love and connection to Elohim. And she lived a Celestine lifestyle after that, even though she wasn't a Celestine. She lived a Celestine lifestyle after that, so it never came back. And so I just want to give you all my testimony that you and I, as priesthood holders of Elohim, we are given great power, but also great responsibility. And it's important that if we're ever using our priesthood authority for healing, rather than doing some other modality of healing that we know from our knowledge or experience, but we're actually using our priesthood authority, that we make sure that the people are ready, that they're humble, and that they're ready to be healed, and that they're willing to follow up that healing with living a lifestyle that will make sure that whatever their problem was, it doesn't come back. I testify to you with all my heart that these things are true, and I say it in the name of our brother Yeshua, so be it.
So be it, be it.
So be it. Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you, brother.
You're so welcome. And with that, I'll turn the time over to brother Reggie.
Oh, I can't match that. So I don't know. I'll see what I can do. So my talk starts off with a question, and the question basically it goes to the activating force behind our power. Right. So we always talk about we want to get this power, want to get this power. You know, the power of telekinesis, the power of teleportation, the power of psychokinesis, the power of levitation. You know, but have we ever asked ourselves, what is it? What is the activating force behind that? What is that? And as I was because I was pondering that question too, and as I was pondering that question, you know, I got the answer through the oracles. So I'm going to read you a passage from the oracles that not kind of, but definitely answers that question with that pondering that I wanted to share with everybody here, my brothers and sisters of light. And it starts off from Vivus chapter 92, verse 20 to 27. And it goes like this. Then, once I read this, also the question will be answered, and then I'll direct you once where that answer is. But I think you'll hear it. But just remember, the question is, what is the activating force behind our power? So, verse 20 to 27. Then shall there also be times when you will be seen by the Ganesh, calling upon the powers of Celestine light and doing things which in the minds of men cannot be done. So before I continue, I just want to give the meaning behind a Ganesh, because as I was doing this, I used one of my powers to contact Brother Embrosewyn, and I was asking him, Brother Embrosewyn, what does Ganesh mean? Because it was called upon me to give you a call, and Brother Embrosewyn told me is that Ganesh at that time were individuals who were not part of the Celestine light. They didn't follow Celestine light. Just like in today's times when the Muslims, for example, if you're not part of the Muslim faith, you're called a heretic. I think that is right. Or infidel. I'm sorry, an infidel. And if you are not a follower of the Jewish tradition, you're called a Gentile. For Christians, I think it's called a heretic. I think so. I'm not too sure. But that's the correlation of a Ganesh in those times, Yeshua times. So Ganesh was individuals who were not part of, who did not follow the Celestine light. So if you see that word Ganesh, in the oracles, that's what it means. Okay. So I'm gonna read this verse again. Then shall there also be times when you will be seen by the Ganesh, calling upon the powers of Celestine light, and doing things which in the minds of men cannot be done. In their observation, there will be a remembrance of the form, even unto the words you said, and the substances you mixed, and the movements you made. And so shall they emulate. A few will succeed in calling in some of the powers that can be called in by the forms of simplicity, even as priests, witches, and sorcerers have been able to do so since the days when they saw the first children of light using the powers of heaven upon the earth. Thus it shall come to pass that some of the forms and a small part of the power shall come to be known and used by witches, sorcerers, and priests, seeking to wield a power they know not. Some for purposes of good, and some for evil. A little healing they will do, but to them it will seem great. Small miracles they will accomplish, and though feeble, they shall acclaim them from the mountaintops. But worry not all for this. The true power of Celestine light, even to say unto a mountain to take up and be cast into the sea, or upon a paralytic to rise up and walk, or to the storm to come or go, they will be incapable of accomplishing. Though they may know some of the forms that call in the power, they can never possess the Celestine light of Elohim. That is the activating force behind the greatest power. Only a worthy child of light can be one in completeness with the Celestine light, and only by being one with the power of light can it be called forth in its fullness and majesty. So as you know, brothers and sisters of light, the activating force behind all our powers is Elohim, having the faith and the belief in Elohim. So if we want to develop the powers of telekinesis, right, of telepathy, right, everything else, there has to be a strong connection with, and we all have that because we're part of the Celestine. We're part of a sacred society that has that connection directly to the Elohim, right? To our Heavenly Father, to our Heavenly Mother, and our brother Eshu. We have that connection. We have that way of activating that power that's within us, that was given to us, that was born within us. And we just have to have that faith and belief that it's there. Because That connection we have with Elohim, that's the activating force, right? And to really understand that even more, I want to go deeper in terms of the most powerful tool that we have, right? We have a powerful tool, right? And one of the things that we have that kind of gets us to that level of understanding the power that we already have manifested within us is our intuition, right? Intuition, I wrote something down here, which I want to read to you, is this. Intuition is one of the most powerful tools we have for joyful and abundant living. Yet many of us have no idea how to use it. Instead, we try to use rational, logical thinking to get us out of jams and make progress on our goals, right? Unfortunately, logical thinking can often complicate things, right? When a much simpler solution may be available to us, available within us, right? To tap to this mysterious power that all of us have, every single individual here has that power. To tap into this mysterious power, we only need to get quiet and turn within. It's like a prayer, right? That's how we tap into it, right? I'm gonna repeat. To tap into this mysterious power, we only need to get quiet and turn within. So a good example, as I mentioned before, as I was going through the oracles, getting a topic to talk about today, I read upon this particular passage, and I didn't know what the word Ganesh meant, right? So automatically I was gonna say, I'm not even gonna bother getting definition. I'll just run right through it. And then this voice came to me and said to me, give Brother Embrosewyn a call. And I said, I don't want to disturb him. He's busy. I don't want to disturb him. Give him a call. Now, the voice was very peaceful, very quiet, right? Not loud or rambunctious, not yelling or screaming. It just said, give Brother Embrosewyn a call. So I did that. And I called him and say, hey, Brother Embrosewyn. Hey, brother, how you doing? I got a quick question. And I need to put a definition of this Ganesh because I was told, to give you a call. So I'm here. And he humbly told me, I was like, wow, I'm glad I did call you. Right. So think about that. How many times have we always, kind of not listened to that quiet voice that tells us, hey, don't go that way. Hey, listen to this one. Hey, this person, I don't know. Hey, this person's good. Hey, turn on this street. Don't go on down that road. Hey, go straight. Keep walking straight. So that's that power that we have. It's a very quiet, very peaceful voice. So when we stop the frantic and scattered thinking, right? When we stop the panicking and stop the worrying, when we simply turn within ourselves and reconnect with our inner wisdom, all the answers will come to you, right? And it'll come to you because it was always right there waiting. My example with contacting Brother Ambrose, right? So it may take a little time to develop a strong faith in our ability to know, but the more we work with our inner guidance, our inner wisdom, our inner connection, the more naturally it will eventually feel, right? The more natural it would appear, and the more that we are connecting within our power, which overall is the power given to us by Elohim, right? And once we are connected with that, right, we all automatically are activating that power within us. So no matter what you want to do, telepathy, telekinesis, pyrokinesis, levitation, we all have that, right? Just connecting and activating our belief and our faith with Elohim would definitely expand that. And I attest to you, my brothers and sisters, that what I've said are very, very true. By the name of Elohim, also our eldest brother, Yeshua. So be it.
So be it.
So be it.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Brother Reggie.
Yes,
That was
that was a
wonderful.
Great talk.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
As you were speaking, I was visualizing all these different pipes coming from the Celestine kingdom, and as we need power, it's like we're opening the spigot and letting it come through.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Brother Keyl, who's not here today, but he did leave us one of his wonderful videos, so we're going to watch that next.
Hello, brothers and sisters. Today I'm going to speak about the herb Echinacea. I'm sorry that I won't be outdoors this time, as I know that you've enjoyed, but I will do my best in presenting this herb to you today indoors. So I chose to talk about the herb Echinacea today, as it is fitting for this time of year, being the fall season, and we all know that this is the time when we usually come down with the common cold and flu. And Echinacea is one of those herbs that most people turn to for these things, and it would be wise to know how to identify this plant where you currently live. Now, I will be showing you pictures of Echinacea outdoors as I speak more about how to identify this plant. Now, when we look closely at this herb and at the flower of Echinacea, we're going to notice the slightly cone shape of the flowers. They're going to vary on the shape somewhat from the cone to the flat rays of the flower petals. However, it's going to have this very distinct pink and purple coloration to it, and sometimes they can be white. This plant does hybridize very easily with other members of the Echinacea family. If we look closely, we are also going to notice there is orange tip spikes in the inside of the flowers, and these are going to be turning into the seeds of Echinacea. Looking at this, we can see a cone shape to the flower petals, and the flower petals have this distinct purplish magenta kind of color to them, and the tips inside are orange. The leaves of Echinacea that we see here are very long. This one is probably about 3 to 4 inches long, and it's going to come to a very fine point once we get towards the tip. And when we flatten the leaves out, we're going to notice that there are a lot of sharp teeth and lobes running down the margins or the sides of this leaf. And if we look at the undersides of the leaves on Echinacea, we're going to notice that they are much wider than the top of the leaf. And this helps to discern the leaves of Echinacea from other plants. If we combine the features of the leaves with the features of the flower itself, we get a really good complete profile of this plant. Holding the leaf in your hand, it will have a very distinct papery feel, and you're going to feel like a very rough construction paper, and they are covered with bristles and little hairs running along the leaf. So let's take a look at the stem now and some of the discerning features about it. The stem doesn't have too many discerning features. It is very stiff. It feels sort of woody in the hands, and you may be able to see the tiny bristles that are covering it, feeling rough against your skin, kind of like sandpaper as you rub your fingers against it. And it's a good way to properly identify if you have an Echinacea plant. At the base of the plant, we're going to notice a lot of stems coming out of the ground. Most often there is a taproot for each stem, and this taproot is what you are going to be using for the medicine. The taproot of Echinacea should be dug up in the fall. Like all other roots, you do not want to be digging up the root before the fall, as the medical constituents are not going to be as potent then. Now here I am showing a picture of the Echinacea in the fall and winter season. And there are some things to keep in mind if you're going to be using this plant for medicine for your colds and flus. You don't want to be continually taking Echinacea for more than 2 to 4 weeks, as the effect wears off after that time, and it can even suppress your immune system if taken too long. And the reason the roots are more effective in the fall is that when the first frost happens, the plant sends all of its energy down into the root of the plant during this time. Now, I hope that this has helped you understand Echinacea a little bit better. And as always, you need to go out and look for these herbs and know for yourself how to better identify them. Even if you would rather just go to the store and buy that Echinacea tincture, which you certainly can, but you never know when you may need to go outdoors and find this herb yourself. And this comes to another thing that I would like to add to this video. And it's a question of why is it important that we learn more about herbs when maybe we can rely on someone else who currently has this information and can tell us what we need for whatever our situation is. Now, I happen to be someone who has always felt it was important to understand and learn more about the ways of health. But I know there are many who feel that they don't have the time or maybe don't feel like it's something that's important in their life. But I can say that everyone here now watching this video in this group of Celestine light is a child of light. And Yeshua has told us that as a child of light, we are to become familiar with the uses of these herbs. And this is the perfect time to read some verses from Vivus chapter 80, The Power of Herbs, which is on page 653 in the book. So in this chapter, Yeshua speaks to a group of children of light, talking about the importance of herbs. So I'm going to first read verses 3 and 4. Elohim has put all things upon the earth that are needed for your well-being and health, and plants and herbs are special storehouses of both and much more. They can be used for healing and other uses, both great and small, and every child of light should become as familiar in their uses as the physicians of the kings and as adept in their special properties as the priests of the Egyptian temples. And I'll also read verses 10 through 12. For every malady there is an herb or potion of herbs, and for every need of mind or body, Elohim has provided plants and herbs to be of benefit to man. Now you may say, we will heal with faith in the powers of the Spirit and call upon the aeons of angels in heaven. So what need have we of herbs? But I say unto you that when you heal by faith, you have only begun the healing, and what the powers of the Spirit have begun are often best completed with the power of herbs. And then Yeshua calls upon a man with an infirmity of the lungs, whom he speaks with, asking about how he had helped a neighbor in need. And knowing that he was a worthy person to be healed, he healed him from his infirmity. And so from there I'll read verses 26 and 28. 26 to 28. So he will return home and be well for a time, but within 2 years his infirmity will return and once again worsen with each passing year until he follows his healing of spirit with daily consumption of the antidote for the poison, which is a pollen of bees mixed with a tea of suman. So it is with many of the sicknesses and infirmities you would heal by calling upon the Celestine light. The healing is complete for a time, but the problem will return if the cause remains. But with the use of herbs, the cause too may be overcome when it is something of the physical realm. Each day, if you will drink teas from the herbs you are given to understand in your curums, you will live far beyond the normal years of man and live in health and vigor all of your days. Is something so simple and easy not worthy of the effort for reward so great? So that concludes my video for today, and I can testify to you that what I have shared with you is the truth, and I say so in the name of our brother Yeshua, so be it. So I thank you, brothers and sisters, for your time, and I am honored to be able to share this and everything else that I speak with you. So have a wonderful day, brothers and sisters. Namaste.
Wow, his talks just keep getting better and better. That was excellent. His visuals were fantastic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's so interesting. I mean, he had no idea that I was going to be talking about what I was going to be talking about. But his, or maybe Dick had to post it to me. But anyway, the way that everything
Everything
fits
always
together
matches.
is always amazing how that works. All right, Sister Dacha, are you?
I'm here. I am. And as always, the energy is so harmonized and we are all in sync. For today's chapter is all about a proper Celestine diet and faith, having faith to Elohim. So we are just a bundle of joy and celestial light. And it's amazing. I just wanted to add to say thank you, Brother Embrosewyn, for the topic you've discussed. So it was on my mind and on my heart, and I really wanted to know the difference, and I really wanted the people to know the difference, and especially coming out from the mouth, the words of our prophet, that is very, very important. And so thank you so much, and thank you for having me as an example, because people know our children of light here in the group, they know me, so they can clearly distinct the difference, when to be paid, when not to be paid, what is our duty as priesthood holders, what comes from us being as a professional job. So it's a whole different theme and subject. And thank you, Brother Reggie, also for the beautiful talk. I just wanted to add a funny story. I mean, a funny line from my husband. When just today we spoke about future plans for the school of applied spirituality that I have, and everything that I want to have a proper classroom where I can teach Celestine light also to my students, where I can do the sermons and where I can teach, and we are speaking everything, and I say we must do this and this and this, and he says no, this is better, and I say stop, I'm not talking, don't fight me on this, it's my intuition, it's the Holy Spirit. Oh, so why did you say so? Okay, we are doing this. So if I speak, it doesn't count. But if I say it's my intuition, because I told him it comes from the Holy Spirit, and it is the voice of our Holy Mother. It is the voice of our Heavenly Mother. It is always a female, gentle voice, and she speaks only once. And you should better listen to her. And then he says, oh, why did you say so? Okay, then we'll do that. So it's amazing. He listens to my intuition, but not to me. Very different. So today we will read, and I will try to explain the best I can the images that are coming constantly now in my head due to me being translating the oracles and our new abilities that are coming to me and Brother Reggie. I hope you feel all the same vibrations that are
Absolutely.
coming.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do. Absolutely.
Yes, it's amazing. This whole month of preparations is amazing. So the chapter 26 is the first sermon at Ptolemais. And from Ptolemais, Yeshua and Miriam and their disciples returned to Nazareth for a night, and they journeyed to Ptolemais on the coast where Yeshua had gone sometimes during, if you remember, he was there in his youth to meditate, and because he loved so much the view, when he sat upon the reef, he so enjoyed the view of the sea and the calmness of the water. It was amazing doing there the contemplative movements and talking to Elohim, to his father and mother. We should all enjoy such a view. This is why Yeshua always said the best place to live is where you have mountains behind you and a beautiful sea in front of you, and weather just perfectly warm. If you remember the chapter Genesis, where Heavenly Mother explained to Noah about the island of Celantis that will come out, the perfect weather, the perfect herbs, everything perfect. So I hope we will all join in such community of light one day, someday. And as they traveled, Miriam asked a very important question to Yeshua, and she said, "My Lord, when shall you reveal the greater secrets of the celestial light to the disciples you have called to follow you?" And then Yeshua answered a very important sentence. They're still like babes upon their mother's breast. They must continue with milk before they can tolerate the substance of that which is greater. And there is others I must call, and there must be a quorum of 12 before I will speak of the fullness of the celestial light to them. So, my dear brothers and sisters, this is very, very important. And the key word is tolerate. Whether we speak to a child of light or an ordinary Ganesh, it is very important that we give them portions of the truth as much as they can consummate, as much as they can tolerate, because people tend to be afraid of what they don't know. And Yeshua always said, first, you must know, understand, and apply the lesser knowledge. And only then I will give you the greater knowledge. Because if one does not understand the lesser knowledge, or how to drink a simple milk, he cannot tolerate a greater knowledge. People are afraid and they will spit out the food that you give them if they don't have the guts to swallow it, the faith to understand it, the basis, the foundations for that kind of knowledge. And another thing, why he doesn't say anything to the, not everything to the disciples, because they are not ready yet to be told everything. And the number is not yet 12, because it will be a double job, speaking first to them and then repeating everything that he just spoke to the another 6 or 5 disciples that are still missing. And then he said, many things I shall not tell them until the very last days. If you remember, the last chapters of Vivas are full very with with very important informations and teachings that Yeshua gave them, especially after his resurrection, the 40 days he stayed until his ascension. These are the most important lessons he gave his apostles and all the children of light in the 4 communities of light. I always say, if you want to know what Yeshua told his children of light, just read Vivas, the last chapters of Vivas. This is the lessons that it's all about the supernatural powers, the paranormal abilities, the secrets, the greatest secrets that can ever be told when someone is mortal upon this earth. And then he also told a secret that Miriam shall stay after him, and she will be the beacon of light when he's gone. And she protests as always because she loved him. She loves him very much, and she, as we all who have found our soulmates or high-level twin flames, we cannot even imagine a day without them, not less 11 years where she stays after him. But he he just softens her heart by saying, though my body may be gone, my spirit will never leave you, and the substance of my essence will be so strong with you that it will be as I walk beside you still. This he also told Dara and Uriel, that he will be there when they will be wed, and in every important things of their life they can still call upon him, and even if they don't, he is their father. He will be there, and especially for Miriam, the love of his life. And he says a prophecy, because it must needs be that you remain for a time after I have returned from whence I came to nurture our children and the flame of celestial light. For before a night has passed, ere I have left the earth, there will be many who will begin to pervert my teachings. Even among my elect who hold fast to my light, there will be some who will not be able to overcome their own darkness and will heed you not. And this is a prophecy from Yeshua. Sometimes along the lines in the oracles, we do have prophecies that did came true, because it lasted only a night. And then when people knew that Yeshua ascended, everything started to fall, to descend. And then the descension into darkness began. The ascension of Yeshua was the first day of the end of the light on planet Earth, until us, the epoch of promise. And he even told Miriam that the people will hate her so much that they will want the people, those who will say that they knew Yeshua, but Yeshua didn't know them. And he said, but even in the synagogue, he said, I don't know you. Your prayers will not be heard. I don't know you. Don't ask for me in the times of your need, when you don't ask for me in the times of your wealth, of your happiness, when you are not grateful. I don't know you. These people that will come after the apostles are not apostles, and they will just say that they are apostles and bishops, and they will be not, and they will try, and they did remove Miriam from the annals of men, that they did remove all the words from Yeshua, but they still lingered a kindle of the celestial light, and thus we came upon this earth, as it was prophesied again, and we will see during the oracles. And when they went in the city, the disciples, when before Yeshua, and they were very, very diligent disciples. I see them in every town they walk. They are very diligent, saying that Yeshua is here, come and hear him. He doesn't speak as the Pharisees and the Sanhedrin and the Sadducees that you hear speaking in the synagogue every day. No, he speaks of different things. He speaks to you how to have a better life and how to know God as a friend and as your parents, not someone that punishes. And he teaches the people of Ptolemais this. And 400 people gathered together to hear Yeshua speak. And he said, though you may have a comfortable home and a work that pays you well, if you do not have the spirit of Elohim in your heart, which is evident by your action, kindness, selflessness, generosity, and love, you have nothing. If you do not listen to that little quiet, serene, but strong voice of your intuition, called the Holy Spirit of Elohim, you have nothing. No amount of worldly things can never compensate you not hearing your spirit and the soul that beckons you toward the celestial light. For the things in this world are here today and gone tomorrow. Everything that man has made can be destroyed in a second. Even a whole island, as we have seen people destroyed Eden in a night. People destroyed the planet. And it took 40 years to renew itself. People, by their action, destroyed a whole island, cities, by this nuclear solar sound blast that La Maraca went on having a war. Things made by men can be destroyed in a second, in a split second, but everything that is done in the spirit and in the celestial light is forever. Our character, the bonds we have, our love, this cannot be destroyed ever. Nobody can take our love and our light if we don't give them to those who want to take it away. And he says, though you may think you are young and have a good health, if you do not live as God has given for you to live in the food and eat, and that which you drink, as Brother Embrosewyn said, if you do not have this celestial diet, then your end is misery in life and wretched remorse for what could have been in the world to come. The body is a temple of God. And he says to the people, do you think that the people of Noah, the people of Enoch, even Methuselah, that lived for 969 years, the people back then, our ancestors were better than us? No, that they weren't. We even have a whole Genesis, and they had the whole the Torah, or every scriptures filled that people weren't better than us today. And why did they have still such longevity, such long and healthy lives? Because they were few children of light, that they knew and they listened to Elohim how to eat and want to drink. And thus Yeshua says, Elohim has charged you to be a steward over every living thing and over all the earth, all of which are given for your benefit. And as you have need, as a good steward, you must respect and your charges and never despoil land. And if you despoil land, you must restore it in its splendor and never take life, no matter how insignificant, if there is no other way to sustain or protect yours. And he says, do not kill the animals or the birds to eat their flesh. Choose whatever possible to eat only those things of life that Elohim has put in your Eden to give your sustenance without taking life. We must not kill. This is also one of the 12 commandments of happiness and exaltation. And these 12 commandments are the manual for our longevity and for blessed eternity. We don't eat living animals. Why? Because they too have friends. They have families, they have children. As Yeshua says, it will be as we eat our own best friend when we eat high conscious animals. Therefore, first eat the fruits of the trees and bushes that give you freely of their pulp, that you might spread their seed and propagate their kind. So first the fruit. And then if you still hunger, eat the vegetables and the plants that wither and die each year, that were therefore given to be consumed. This is why Elohim built these plants the way he did, so they can be reborn every season, so we can have new and fresh seeds and plants and weeds and eat them, and then they die and then they are born again, so we can again have fresh plants and weeds. And this is why he gave them to us for our food. And vegetables shouldn't be prepared by overcooking them, because then they die. We should heat them only to enhance the life, not extinguish it. And then if we still hunger, we can, in times of famine, when we cannot be strengthened by the plants, we can eat the lower forms of life, like the insects and the schooling fish of the sea. But why them? Because there are many. Like Brother Embrosewyn once said, only 5 or 10% from all the insects are doing damage to the crops, but all others, especially those that are plenty, are given for food in case of we don't have fruits, vegetables, or plants. The more you eat that which still has life and is given freely, the more we will live. And he says, Yeshua says, let's do a simple test. If the meal you desire that lives free would try to escape from you and not go to you meekly on your plate, if they knew your attention, this is what you shouldn't live. This is what you shouldn't eat. This life you should spare. And then he says, consider now the sun, the light that is coming from Elohim. Go to the sun every single day, even in winter, when you see a little speck of the sunlight, just go there and close your eyes. And in the summer, don't get burned by the sun. Just go there 15 minutes. When before the contemplative movements, with, I believe in the chapter with Anush, where Anush explained sun gazing, it should be only 12 breaths, just sun gazing, and then you go away. No need to be overcooked, so to be healthy in the sun. And then the water, we should drink only pure water. Consider also the water that you drink. Let it be pure without the waste of people and animals, for your body is an ocean. And if you keep the water clean, your ocean will still have the life long after your friends who heeded not my words had dried up and blown away with the wind. And he speaks about water not only to drink it, but to wash it, to have to wash your body, to wash the temple of God, not only the hands and feet. And I have seen people that wash their face like with 2 tubs and just the eyes. That's not washing. It's just like you're smearing the windows. But bathe yourself. If you remember, Yeshua always asked of Miriam and the apostles and their wives to bathe every day and to wash their clothes every day, which Miriam didn't like that so much, but it was what Yeshua told them to do. So clean, we must all be always clean, smell nice and fresh. And then don't be slothful. Yeshua says to them, don't be lazy. Elohim made our arms, our joints, not to be squeaky, but to use them, to use them. This is why he made us to be able to walk, to run toward your loved ones, run toward the sunlight. Just use your body. It's meant to be moving, not just to lay down on the couch and watch series all day long. And what about habits? A question to everyone. What is your favorite habit? Do you even have a hobby that you enjoy? And like Philo said, do you ever do anything nice for you every single day? What thoughts do you think? Do you know that your thoughts eventually will become your words, and your words will become your deeds, and your deeds will become your character, and then your character will become your destiny? If you don't, think about what you think, especially for yourself. And he says, watch out what you say. Do not judge ever. Before you speak, just look of all aspects that are there in the subject you want to discuss, or it is a human being you want to judge. You must know everything. I always say to my clients, to my students, before diagnosing or having a thought for your client, what's the matter with them, you should know everything about your client, their past, their present, their thoughts about the future, their life. You should be a good profiler, not quick to judge, but eager to help. But you must know everything before you start speaking about someone's life. This is how we know we will find the core of the disease, the primary cause of the disease, by knowing the person we work with. And he says, lastly, remember to have a good balance in your life. People work today, they have 1 job, 2 jobs, they have a studying to do, they have families, but sometimes we forget ourselves. We forget ourselves in the books we write, in the books we read, in the jobs we have. We come home with problems from work, but that's not good. We should have a balanced life. I believe Brother Reggie spoke about this once in his The Lessons of Warrior, when he beautifully said that we must also nurture the child within us. Be the grown-up, but be also the child. It's all about balance. You're not juggling with human lives, but you walk in steady, balanced life. This is how we stay healthy and live long. We work a little, play a little, sleep a little. How it was the rule of 8. 8 hours sleep, 8 hours play, 8 hours work, or other way around. First work, play, sleep. So, and then he just paused a bit to see how his words, the energy, how it spread among in the hearts among the people. And being Yeshua, he knew their thoughts. And he knew that some were touched by his words, but others were not. You could see that they don't like what they hear because it's not soothing to their ears. It will destroy the comfort they are used to. And then he spoke a beautiful story about the meal master. I want you all to read the meal master story, page 364, because it's a beautiful story. But having not much time, I will just rephrase it and explain it to you in a short, but please read it because it's very important about the balance in your life and how you can easily lose everything you actually work for. This is what people do this day until today, especially parents. The story is all about how a parent, a husband, and a father giving a new position by the mill master, because the mill master loved this worker so much, and he was a good worker, and the mill master was a very good steward, a very wealthy man, and he wanted to reward those who worked well, and he just chose this young and prosperous worker, and he gave him the stewardship upon his meal. And the man was so he felt so blessed at the beginning, and he said, I will work so diligently to prove you that I'm worthy and capable of the responsibility you are giving me. But this person was lost after 3 years. He was lost in his job in so much that he neglected his wife, he neglected his family, he neglected his children, and he drank wine. And when the Lord, we can look at this story on macrocosmic level, like the Elohim speaking to us, and in a microcosmic level, like we have a steward upon us, and we are the worker. And then the Lord, when he find out that the man actually destroyed his life, he told him that he didn't give him the meal to run with the meal so he can destroy his life, but to better it. And he says, I speak not of the meal, for that is but one board in the wheel of your life. It is of the other boards that I speak, and of the hub. Your wife is a part of your will of great importance, and you must take the time to love her and be with her. The meal can be destroyed tomorrow, and it can be rebuilt. But if you destroy the love of your life because of your neglect, it will be much more difficult to rebuild that which was lost. As Yeshua told the people, love is the force that runs us through life. Love is the ultimate, the highest frequency of Elohim. Elohim are love and light, and if one learns to live upon love, upon this frequency, to vibrate so high, he will never be unhappy. He will see no sadness, and he will be healthy. If we love our family, if we love our bodies, if we love the food we eat, which is life and not death, this is the most important ingredient of our longevity. And the meal master says, each of your children are also part of your will, and whether you will go strong and delightfully depends upon your presence and love and example of virtue. They are children for only a precious few years. If you do not cherish every moment with them and seek out time to share with them, then the sun will set on no time together and will never rise again, for they will be children no more. And this is 99% the biggest mistake parents do. They neglect their children while the children grow up and become adults, for their justification that they work for them, for their future. But the parent doesn't know. It flees their mind to see that afterwards the children don't need that money or that businesses or whatever the parent did while they were growing up, because they never felt the love and they will just leave. And then the parent stays home for another 50 years, asking themselves, why did my child leave? I did everything for them. I worked 24 hours for them. Why did they leave? Because they weren't there for them. Sadly, as I speak now to my parents, I don't need them now when I'm 40 years old. I needed them back then when I was 13, 14, 15. Now it doesn't matter anymore. I can take care of myself. The sun has set, unfortunately. But let this be a lesson for every parent that is now and wants to be parent. Please do not neglect your children, because you are the living example that they need to see to become little humans and then great humans. And this is what Yeshua told the people then and now. It still stands, these teachings. I say unto you, be like the millmaster. Remember that being a good steward is pleasing to God, but it begins with taking care of you first. Because if you do not love yourself, how can you give love? You cannot bring food out of an empty fridge. Whatever you want to give your children, your clients, your students, your children of light, you have to have it. You have to have the light that beacons so you can find new children of light. You have to have the love that beacons and emanates from you so you can find your soulmate that you are searching for. You have to have what you want to give and have in return. You are children of God. You are children of light. Remember who you are. Let your heart go to Elohim, and it will always guide you to happiness in this life and fulfillment and eternity. Go with your lives. Even today, love yourself, love one another. Beacon light, and do not ever fall into the weaknesses of the darkness within you. Just have your eyes upon Elohim and remember who you are. This Heavenly Mother and Father, especially our Holy Mother, spoke so many times to all those before they fell into darkness, but she spoke it so many times. Do not forget who you are. And I sure hope so that this epoch of promise will remember who they are. And this, the last dispensation of Elohim, will be a rewarding one, and we will not strain from the light. Thus, my dears, share light and love, and I testify every word that I say comes and is true from Yeshua of Nazareth. Be guided by the Holy Spirit of our heavenly parents and do only good that is just. In the name of Yeshua of Nazareth, so be it.
So be it.
So be it. Wow, so inspiring.
Sister Dantra, I just want to comment that you are absolutely right about what you said, because when I was in my 30s, I was working 2 jobs because I was a single parent at the time. And my son Elijah, he came and he told me, he said, I never see you. All you do is work. And I want you to quit one of your jobs. And I said to him, I won't be able to give you as much. He said, I don't care. I need you. And I quit my job the same day.
Wow.
Bravo.
I
And
think
This is
and
this
I've
is-
made every decision after that. Like even the jobs I have now, they work around my children. They don't work around me, because it's important that you're right, that you be there for your children. That's the most important thing.
one of the things that always helped me with my children, and it's what you just said, Sister Erica and Sister Dantra, but also it applies to not just the children, but also to our relationships with our spouse, to our relationship with ourselves, is if you say, love yourself. How do you spell love yourself? How do you spell love? How do you spell love your children? How do you spell love your spouse? Regardless of what kind of love you're talking about, it's not spelled L-O-V-E, it's spelled T-I-M-E, time. When you give time to yourself, you're loving yourself. When you give time to your relationship with your spouse, you're loving your relationship. When you give time to your children, you're loving your children. And especially for a child, more than anything, if you tell them I love you, they hear the words, but if you give them your time, they feel your love.
exactly. This is why I also recommend the beautiful book 22 Steps to the Light of Your Soul, written by Brother Embrosewyn, where you have everything explained, how to give time to all your family and your children, and how to give love to yourself. To read this book, it's a manual how to live now and here, and how to love yourself and everyone else. The 22 Steps of the Light of the Soul is beautiful.
That's a wonderful book. I've sent it to several people who really appreciate it. That's a wonderful book.
Thank you. That's very gratifying for me to hear, because I wrote that book in all humility as a manual to help people in their lives to be more fulfilled in every way, and to realize what they can do to grow. And I wrote it in little short chapters so they can just read one chapter at random, just before they go to bed or whatever. And so it's very gratifying to me to hear that it's benefited you, and thank you for sharing it, everybody.
I just wanted to share, since you mentioned The Light of Your Soul, that was a book that we sent out to, back in the days before Amazon was super big, to agents and publishers. Couldn't get it published. So it was finally Miriam in 2011, I think, said, you need to get that book out there. It's important for the children of light. So
It is. And I testify.
reminding us.
Yeah, everyone I send it to, they love it, and they have also given it to someone. So that's definitely a great book to give as a gift. Like my sister-in-law was going through so much, and I sent it to her, and she said it uplifted her so much. It's really a wonderful book.
Thank you, Sister Erica, for sharing that. All right, ladies, do you have,
I just
angels and words of power?
wanted to, I made a note when Sister Dantra was talking about being clean. And one thing to keep in mind, because of people, I don't think truly understand the toxicity of some of the soaps that are out there that we use. And so if you can smell something Like your laundry soap, that's the worst. It seems like,
Saying if you washed your clothes and they've gone through the dryer or hung up, but then you take them out and they have this perfumey smell, that means they're still full of soap.
yeah, so it's better to either get natural scents with essential oils or get unscented soaps, particularly laundry soaps.
And to double rinse your clothes.
Yeah, double rinse.
Get that soap out of there.
You shouldn't smell, it should smell clean, but not perfumey.
A lot of skin conditions that people have where they have flaky skin and dry skin and irritated skin is often, especially irritated skin, or they go to bed, maybe they sleep with naked like a lot of us do. And if your sheets and things haven't been well rinsed and they still have soap in it, you can get itchy and red and actually be not comfortable in your own sheets because the soap wasn't rinsed out of them. And so it's irritating your skin as you lay in your bed all night long or in your clothes all day long.
And I've noticed that people that are around those scents all the time don't smell them. We had friends over and we just happened to be using the fluorescent lights and shined it on their clothes. And it's like, wow, you could, they even said, oh, that's all the soap in their clothes. But they didn't smell it at
But
all.
we did.
We smelled it. It was overwhelming. But how do you tell somebody like that, or tell somebody without being
Right.
rude?
Yeah, ultraviolet lights are great because if you have something like that, if your clothes not being well rinsed and you do an ultraviolet light on them, you'll see all that soap that's still in there that the UV light shows up with. Okay, so it's getting late, so we're already 2 hours into our meeting, so let's finish with our angel and word of power.
I'm doing a new angel. I'm pretty sure I haven't done this one before, but let me know if I have. She is the angel of negating self-sabotage. Do you recall me ever giving you that angel? She's not in the book.
Okay,
She's a very important angel because it seems like at some time in our life, we have self-sabotaged ourselves and or still are doing so. So her name is Echinacea, and it's spelled E as in Edward, L-L-I-C-I-E as in Edward, L-L-E as in Edward, Echinacea. So we're going to call her in and everyone can get the good of that.
Echinacea. Please come to us. As we need, so let it be. Echinacea. Please come to us. As we need, so let it be. Echinacea. Please come to us. As we need, so let it be.
Echinacea, thank you so much for being here with us. And everyone can just ask if they want any special help from you with anything, or you can just bestow upon us your wonderful energy of negating self-sabotage in whatever way we need. And we just love you and appreciate you. Thank you.
So be it. And our word of power.
Our word of power it's one of my favorite sigils. It is for balance, whether it's balance in relationships, balance in diet, balance in everything in your life. See, I did mark it. But it's the center of our Celestine light symbol, as you remember. And the word is zinganez. It's a fun word too.
Yes, it is.
Zinganez. So we're going to start softly and build in power.
Zinganez.
Zinganez. Zinganez. And I just want to also add in the word of power for faith. We're also talking about the power of faith today. And I have given this to you before, but it's not one in the book. And that word is Osass. O-S-A-S-S, Osass. So
That's for
if
what I-
you don't have it written down, write it down. It's a great word of power to say every day to gain more faith in all the things you do. So we'll begin softly and build in power.
Osass.
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 All right.
All right.
Before we go, Sister Dancha and Sister Embrosewyn, Sister Dancha spoke about the judging, and I had a discussion with my aunt who's 85 and a devout Catholic, and she's totally against, the homosexual lifestyle, and she was saying that it's Sodom and Gomorrah is a good example of how God felt about it. And even though I try to explain to her that the Bible has been altered more than 6,000 times, as Brother Reggie said previously, she still was adamant about it. So I wanted to ask you, is there any truth to the Sodom and Gomorrah?
Yes, absolutely. Sodom and Gomorrah did occur like that.
Okay.
Let's talk more about the judging, and also particularly, we're seeing a very big extreme between countries in the Western sphere that are being much more liberalizing in same-sex relationships and transsexuals and everything like that, and then countries in the East, from China to Russia and every other Eastern country, is very against that type of relationship. And just on a historical context, and you can even look at our demographics today and see, historically, one of the reasons that was very condemned, and you can see it in the oracles too, when we saw a very good example of that, is that it was very important that children were born. And if people were having homosexual relationships, whether it was men with men or women with women, then children were being born. And it was very important for the growth and safety and security of the people that they had a continued population growth and strong population growth. Now today, what we see is that we've become more promiscuous in those areas, which is fine as far as that goes, but it's not really the way it's done in Celestine Light. Celestine Light, and this is a whole other subject, I'm not going to get into it today, but as we know from like the road to Kaprasalama, those relationships are not something that Elohim forbids, like your aunt was saying. However, we do see ramifications from it in the way it's practiced today, and that is we have very declining populations. So in order for a population to sustain itself, whether it's the United States or North Macedonia or any other country in the world, in order for that country to maintain its population, every woman has to have an average of 2.1 children. 2.1 children, statistically, maintains the population so it neither grows nor shrinks. If they have less than 2.1, then their population will begin to shrink. And if they have more than 2.1, it will begin to grow. Well, today, like for instance, Ukraine, before this war began in Ukraine, their number was 1.1. So even before the war, they were drastically diminishing in population. Russia, the country that's attacked Ukraine, is currently at 1.4. So their population is diminishing. Now, if you have countries that have high immigration, whether it's legal or illegal, people coming into the country, that helps to offset that declining population from the native people. This is why in Europe, as an example, and in the United States too, even though there's a lot of illegal immigration, it's not really fought against that much, because the leaders realize that, hey, without this immigration, our population is declining instead of maintaining or increasing. And so they're actually okay, even if they're not publicly okay. In reality, they are okay with that increased immigration because it helps sustain their country. And without that, guess what happens? You know, all these countries have social security programs where people who are retired get paid by the people who are still working. But that only works if that base of the people still working isn't decreasing and getting less and less. So there's a lot of things I can talk about more about the subject, but we've already gone long today.
Sister Erica, just we have in the oracles chapter 4 Vivas and chapter 24 Vivas, where that is really beautifully explained how Elohim and Yeshua speaks about uncommon affection. This is how he refers to them. Chapter 4 and chapter 24 of the oracles are beautifully explained. And Sodom and Gomorrah did happen, but
Thank you.
it was a meteor shower. So other cities were destroyed, not just Sodom and Gomorrah, like Brother Embrosewyn explained.
I want to say something, if you have time. I will be quick. First of all, I will go back to the first subject of this meeting. I couldn't wait to hear all you had to say about the faith healers and all about that, and I was all ears. I want to testify about how it's important for the healer to be close with the client, as is done so close to me, and how important is she is my mother and father and sister and my best friend, and she's in this moment she's my soulmate. So it's very important for the client to not hide anything from the healer, to say everything that's going on in the mind, in the body, in the environment, and I am talking to her about everything that is going on with me, about everything that I feel in my body, about the thoughts that are going on and on with me, and with the time, I understand that all the things she could have said to me in the beginning, but I was not able to tolerate back then. So now I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful to Dante and to all of you that this is the word that needed to hear. I'm touched in my soul. And Dante is so close to me, and now I see what is real healer. It's not a doctor, it's not a priest, it's not a I don't know, this healer that we have. You go to them, and she says some words to you, and you pay to her, and you go home, and you think that you're healed, but things are not going that way, because it's in this second diagnosis, when I was to her, I said, I'm not accepting this diagnosis. I'm not sick, so I don't want to talk about this illness. And she said, how do you want me to heal if you do not accept your illness? We have to understand what this illness have to teach us. Why is in the first place came back again? And in that moment, that was like a slap. Someone was slapping me, and that was the moment that I begin to think otherwise. And why is this illness back with me? What does it want me to learn? And all the doors from that moment, all the doors are opening to me. And I'm very thankful to all of you. I love you all. And I'm thankful to Dante that she introduced me to you and you to me. And I can't wait to hear all our meetings and all the subjects and everything that the time has to offer me. I don't know how to say. I'm touched, and all the words are not coming to me to say, but I love you all. And thank you. Thank you for every word. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Simona. We love you too, and we sure appreciate your presence here. It's a nice light to join to all of our lights. Thank you. And
Yeah.
Sister Amina too, and all of us. And we are a wonderful family of light, and we help edify and uplift each other and educate each other. And this makes us better for ourselves and for every person in our life as well. So we all should be, and I know we all are, very grateful for each other.
And it is
Yes.
all done in the glory of Elohim, not for us,
Right,
for Elohim.
exactly. As you were talking about the 22 steps to light your soul, I just want to make everyone aware that that book is available as an audiobook. And if you go on audible.com or amazon.com, you can get that book as an audiobook, and you might find that that's a really good way to receive that particular book. You can actually read it as you're listening
I
to
like
it,
doing both.
or you can listen to it while you're driving in a car, going to work, on your phone, whatever. So that particular book is really good for that.
And that man has a really nice voice.
I don't remember who did that one. Yeah, but yeah, I think it was that. Yeah, who did that one? Anyway, yeah, it's a good narrator on it. He has a good voice. All right, well, brothers and sisters, I'm gonna say goodbye. Namaste. I love you all very much, and I'm very appreciative for you to take your time, these over 2 hours and 15 minutes now, for us to be together on a Sunday. Sometimes it's your evening, sometimes it's your afternoon, but it is a big portion of your day, and you're investing it here. Thank you for doing that. I love you, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Yes.
Yes. Namaste.
Namaste.
I
A
love you
very
all.
special next week.
Yes.
Namaste.
It's not very special next week. Those two people who are going to be at the heads of the party next week, if you'll stay online after we're all done, that would be great.
Yeah.
Is it gonna
Okay.
be recorded? Because I unfortunately will not be here. Will has plans for me and him that he surprised me with, so I will
All
not
right.
be here.
Yes, it'll be recorded.
Okay.
Look it up.
I love all of you. Sister Sumara, I'm looking forward to the women's quorum. Let's
Yeah,
get
Me
that going.
too. Me too.
Yeah, well, we gotta get that going then.
Well, yeah,
It's,
this week, get it going.
And congratulations, Brother Reggie and Sister Dansha. All my love and light.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Love you all.
Love you too, sister. Love you.
Love you too, Sister Jeanette and Simona and Amina and Brother Tom.
Brother Tom, I see Brother Tom.
Yes.
Love you and goodbye. Have a nice
Good night.
evening and can't wait to
Bye,
see you
Simona.
again.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Next week.
Bye.
Bye.